Hello, good morning, and thank you so very much for joining us. This is DGTV, and always on Saturday we talk about lifestyle. Today on our lifestyle program, we are talking about fashion design and sketching. Fashion design and sketching. You know, when it comes to wearing what you are about to do, it's all about what you are going to do and get in your wardrobe. My name is Joseph Okiyo, and thank you so very much. As I said earlier, you can join us and you can talk to this conversation in our social media platform. 0791 300 105 is our SMS number, and everywhere it is all about DGTV. We have people here in the studio who are already here to talk to us about fashion design and sketching. Karibu sana ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Njuguna, thank you so much, and it is good to see you. Let's start by you people introducing and telling us actually who you are from Mr. Njuguna. I have already mentioned you.
So, hey all, I am Njuguna Mwangi. I am a tutor at Uzuri Institute, fashion department. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Njuguna. And next is a lady. Talk to us.
Hello, I'm Loventa Atieno, a student at Uzuri University, doing fashion course. Thank you.
Now, it has elevated from an institution to a university. Thank you so much. and this beautiful lady, what long time we have not seen each other.
Well, it's quite long. My name is Anita Cherotich, and I am a trainer of fashion and interior design at Uzuri Institute.
Now, when we start, ladies and gentlemen, on these issues, first, Anita, please elaborate to us, tell us what we are talking about today, all these things called fashion design and sketching. You know, what is this thing that we are calling about fashion illustration?
So fashion illustration is basically the art of communicating your ideas from your mind to paper through various techniques. And some of them is using the pencils and painting and many other techniques that may be used.
So that is in a professional way. You can talk on that, but in that layman language, what do you, or how can you describe fashion sketching?
Well, arguably, fashion illustration and fashion sketching are said to be almost the same thing, except that when we look at fashion sketching mostly gives you the details of the construction. For instance, it shows you the techniques, it shows you the materials that you're going to use. It shows you some of the decorations that may be in use during your clothing construction or garment construction.
Before I come back to you, Mr. Njuguna, I see our table contains things, I don't know, pencils and a rubber. What is that all about? When you're carrying all these things, what is that all about?
Well, these are fashion illustration equipment. Rather, I'll call them the tools that we use, tools of work. So we need pencils, and we have a variety of pencils. We start with, okay, I'm sorry, illustrators don't use these tiny pencils. We use the full-size pencil. So we have the B pencils. They're very good for illustration. The reason as to why they are B pencils, they are called B pencils, is because they are soft pencils. Okay. So soft pencils are very easy to draw and also shade using them. They are very easy. And then after drawing the outlines and everything, you now have to color your sketch, or rather your illustration. So when coloring, we have different media. So today I came with coloring pencils as well as acrylic paints. So these are paints for coloring. So alongside this, you can use various techniques, as Anita had tried to tell you. So we have a technique where you cut out pieces of fabric and you place them on your illustration, because the illustration is just the basic human figure. Yeah.
Before we come back to that, and you will draw and give us what it takes to have that. Anita, literally, fashion sketching. What is that? What does that mean, fashion sketching, literally?
Fashion sketching is ni kuchora. You drawing the silhouette of a human being, and then on it you go ahead and sketch your design onto that silhouette, and then you now name material if you're using Ankara, you name hapo Ankara. If you're decorating using some sort of embroidery, you sketch at that particular part where the embroidery is going to be and name it embroidery. You can also name the decorations, like for example, embroidery is one decoration. If it's a wedding gown, for example, and you're going to sew on sequins, you can actually draw on the sequins and name them there. So sketching is like sketching any other thing, but now in fashion illustration. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Madam Atieno, being a student, what have you learned? Are you able now to put that idea that you have on paper so that you can now start doing the fashion thing?
Yeah, I can. I can put the idea. Okay, according to what I've learned so far, I can sketch the figure of a model, then put those ideas according to what I want. Like for me, I can draw people wearing dinner dresses. So you are the one telling me which kind of dinner dress you want. Some are short, some are long, some are gownish. But it depends with what you want. Which kind of dinner are you going, you see?
So it's all about dinner. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I will come back to you for dinner thing. Ms. Njuguna, what is it? Why is it important to do fashion illustration?
Well, I think fashion illustration just helps you to stick to the concept, the very original concept, because I think if there is anything a buyer appreciates is authenticity. So without authenticity, you're off key in fashion, and you'll want to illustrate just because you want to keep a record of where you've come from. Talk of I'm making you a suit, and you just told me, hey, I want a suit, and I'm going to wear it in the next 3 weeks. Probably I'm going to take my girlfriend out for dinner, and I'll just sit down and just whatever comes in my mind is what I'm going to first to put on paper. So later on, fashion sketching helps you to manipulate the original concept. I might draw this and present it to you, and you're like, sijafurahia, bado sitosheki, and you want something different. So I'll get back to whatever I drew at first and try to manipulate it and change to fit what you want. Another thing about fashion illustration, it helps you with time to keep a portfolio of, or rather a record of sketches and your works, because anytime you do your sketching, it is expected that you're going to do a production of the whole thing. So it keeps a record of the sketches, and later on you're able to present to clients and probably tell them this is what I've done in the previous times, and probably even in a bigger platform, because I understand there are exhibitions for the same, so you are able to even get people buy your sketches.
Yeah. So we want actually to see what you people are going to draw for us, and please don't draw me, because probably I will not come out the way you want. Now, Anita, what is the relevance of illustration before we get back to now drawing? Because I really need to see what you're going to draw.
Well, we had said fashion illustration is the art of communicating your ideas. So the first relevance is going to be communicating your ideas, or rather having a visual representation of what is in your mind onto the paper. And with the relevance of sketching again is you are able to stick to your plan, as Njuguna has said. You're able to stick to your plan while you're stitching, because once you have that particular part where you stitched, you're able to be checking it time and again. Assuming you need to change a certain concept, you go back to your illustration. What had I put here? Should I change this from here to there? So it helps you to stick to your design and also manipulate it at times. Okay. Another thing is keeping your portfolio for your clients. That is something that Njuguna said. So Actually, there are many. I've just picked the most obvious while you're stitching.
The most important, rather. So Juguna, we earlier asked you about what you need, and seeing our table contains a lot of things. Where do you start while doing sketching?
So while doing sketching, you start with a 2B pencil.
2B pencils.
Yeah, so this is a 2B pencil.
And you said we are not using that.
We are not using
a small one.
in Indogo. You'll just have to excuse me.
So lazima iwe mrefu.
So it has to be mrefu.
Okay.
Usually we prefer longer pencils. They play freely in your hand and it is easy to use it rather than this tiny one. You see, it might not move as I would want it. So you start with the 2B pencils. They are from B to 3B because B pencils there are a series of pencils. So we have B, we start with B, and then we go to 2B, 3B. Those are drawing pencils. Then we have 4B, 5B, and 6B.
So
they're usually used.
It is not just like any other pencils. Unaenda kwa duka unanunua pensili yenye iko na raba hapo.
Iko na zile za nursery.
Yeah.
No, you don't. So you have the B pencils. From B to 3B, they are commonly used to outline or rather to highlight the edges. When you get to 4B, 5B, and 6B, of course, the graphite gets thicker, and so they are used to shade your apparel, or rather whatever you are drawing. So you start with the pencil, you draw the outline of the figure. After you've drawn the outline of the figure now, you'll want to kumbalisha nguo. So when you are dressing your model now, is when now you start drawing you start rubbing the places that you don't want to be visible.
As we are doing that, I wish you could have been showing us actually what it gets or what it is all about.
So I think I have a model with me prepared here. Let me see whether I have one.
A gent or?
There are even ladies.
Okay.
Yeah. So which one do we go with? A gentleman. Rather, I would have to illustrate a gentleman.
You will have to do both of them.
Both of them.
Let's be fair now.
So let me start with the ladies.
Okay.
Just a minute. So here is our lady. She looks like this.
She looks like
this
that.
Is the wamamas. So when illustrating, now you'll want to dress your lady. So I'll come and have this paper here.
So that lady ana nguo.
Hana nguo sahi yako very nude, acha hata tumfunike. So utafunika your lady like this, and then let me trace her out.
Okay.
So it is just a technique of illustration.
Okay.
You have your lady prepared, and then now to dress her, I'll have just a minute. Hold on and see the magic.
Okay. There is a magic in that.
There's some magic here. I just want to show you. Yeah. So let's talk of. I want to dress her in some skirt and top.
So the idea is from you, or she comes and she wants to be dressed in a skirt.
You'll have a client come and tell you, I want this. And at the same time, as a designer, we are creatives, and you'll want to probably brainstorm. Or probably I just saw seme kama maua kama hii and probably bought an inspiration in my head, and before it quickly disappears, I just come, I can clearly see through the paper. So I'll just sketch from here what I really feel is.
And make sure it is seen in our camera so that we can show our viewers what it entails all about. So you be careful. Haufinyili hiyo penseli hivi.
Easy kuandika ni kuchora.
Okay.
Juu kuandika tunaandika hivi. Kuchora, you just let the pencil play around in your hand because you're the one controlling it.
Okay.
And then I'll have it go like this.
So that is the outside.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is like an outlook of what I expect her to look like.
So we said she's wearing a skirt.
Let's talk about a tiny dress.
Okay.
And probably she's going out for a 4 p.m. coffee date with her girlfriends. And so you'll realize up to this point, I have really hidden the places that I don't really want, because before she was nude. So I'm trying to cover her up. Just a minute and you'll see what I really mean.
Pole tu. Making sure umeenda jinsi unataka.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with her long legs, just go.
So she has long legs.
She has long legs because she's a typical model.
Okay.
Yes. One thing Mr. Njuguna always says about drawing is that you make a mistake when you draw and if you are writing. And that is where you go wrong, because you are supposed to gently hold the pencil. So I'm learning a lot by the way from him, because he's quite an illustrator.
Right.
And he says that ukifinyilia pencil, you are even unable to rub. And then somehow it's just not the culture of drawing to kufinyilia pencil. And the work will be a bit dirty.
So darkness is not tolerated.
It's not tolerated. Hence the way of holding the pencil and the kind of pencil to use when he calls it soft pencil.
But there are mistakes that he has probably done and he's rubbing.
So because of the nature of the way he's holding the pen, he's able to easily rub out the mistakes. Rather than kufinyilia pencil, and then when you rub, you realize that you leave a dent there, and then assuming you're also using a wrong eraser, to black. The graphite will stick onto the eraser and then it will pass on the graphite to the paper.
So the thing that you're drawing is the actual thing. By the end of the day, you will do the dress.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you will do a dress. Probably some adjustments, because he had said you can modify it when you have an illustration, but that will be your basic dress.
Point to start.
That will be a basic point to start. Yes.
So when an idea comes in your mind, you put it down on a drawing.
Haraka sana, because it disappears.
So that is the essence of, before it disappears, unaweka on paper.
Yeah, you put it on paper before it disappears, and that is how amazing designs are born. Yeah.
So Mr. Njuguna, we are back to you. Tell us what you got.
So, here we are. We have our lady here, and we have our lady here, right?
Yeah.
So she's nude, right?
Yeah.
You can see literally everything. Tumfunike. So here she is. She's in. I just thought. I assumed this is a client who approached me talking about I have a coffee date at 4 p.m. and I really need this dress and probably a bodycon dress for the same event. So I came up with this design. It's quite plain because coffee dates don't really have the pomp and the a lot of the madoido mingi. So it's just usually a relaxed sky vent and just want to go out and vent and breathe in some fresh air. So I came up with this illustration of her wearing this bodycon dress. You would want to realize the detail hapa hivi kwa sleeve. So one is running straight directly through her shoulder, and then the other one is quite off shoulder, so it's running from the tip of her shoulder. So this is what creativity is all about. It doesn't really have to be the basic things. So you will realize this detail here is running, badala ya vile shingo ina running hivi, ina run across hivi. So such are some of the things, if you're not keen, you wouldn't realize in an illustration. So one thing about illustrations, I think people have to be keen on details. It's another thing. You have to be really keen on detail. And while illustrating, sifai kuwa narudia hivi, venye imerudiwa, it should be very smooth. But now because I was just doing a sketch, I think nyuma nimerudia hivyo. Usually I do that when doing my sketches. But with time nendanga nikizipolish, like zitoke, edges zikwe fine. So basically this is it. This is our lady. She's ready, so to already have a visual concept of what she wants. So it is upon me now to present to her and tell her, Madam so-and-so, is this really what you think? Will you wear this? And she'll be like, no, probably nibadilishie nini and this and this and that. So already tuko na visual concept. Now from here, ndio hizo saa manipulations. It is very easy to make manipulations. Hata akienda home, she's a satisfied client because anajua like, oh, this is what I expect. No. And with time, this is money. An illustration inakuanga pesa with time. Because talk of I as an illustrator 50 years to come, ile time nitakuwa nakula pension yangu pole pole. And then I put out this on exhibition ama auction. Trust me, it will get me some money because people like keeping such. And especially if it really broke the internet ama it broke the buzz and really made you somebody out there, people will buy it for some good money. Yeah.
People will buy it for some good money.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for that illustration. And we are to her because she said actually she will draw a model going for a date, and we also want to know how to see what you're drawing. We have a pen there. Is that also needed or is it used?
Okay. Oh, all right.
Okay.
So when you're doing illustrations, this is an enemy of illustration. Anything that has ink to it is an enemy of illustration. I think when I was in school, our lecturer, whoever taught us, was very, very, very keen on not allowing pens in her class. She used to throw them literally away. And so we used to make sure that everything was, you know, anything that has ink to it was thrown away. So I think I'll just have to throw this away. Can I?
No need for throwing it away. But that, you know, show us the illustration, because I have Anita said the other time that she probably would need colors, and I see colors there, and you're the one who said that, and you will be drawing or giving colors. Now, if you want to give colors, what do you do? Before that, show us what you have when doing a model who wants to go for a date.
Okay, well, I'm sketching the model. Okay, I'll sketch the model.
Okay.
Then, let me show you mine. Basically, I'll not use colors. I'll use the 61
Yeah, it's
by to shade. I usually use pencil in my sketching to show, you know, there's some kuna zile zinakaa 3D. Kuna zile picha zinakaa 3D. Ukiona like that person is walking while the person is on the paper.
Okay.
So mine, I'll use 3D. I'll draw a dinner dress.
Okay.
Yeah.
A dinner dress.
Yeah.
So madam is going for dinner.
Yeah, I'll
She's doing a dinner dress.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she also needs a pencil and probably making sure that that sketch. Tell us when it comes to that, Madam Anita. That too is important to do the edges and all those things probably good as Mr. Duguna did.
The pencil. You're talking about the pencil?
Yeah, the drawing rather.
What about the drawing?
My question is, the way she's doing, is that different to what Mr. Duguna has done?
It is not different. First of all, before she did that, she had the sketch. She had the human form. So she used the human form to come up with that particular design. So she did exactly what Mr. Njuguna has just done. And now she's using a different technique, probably different from what Mr. Njuguna will use. And they are probably going to be showing us different textures. And from the technique that they use, it will bring out the different material that can be used by the seamstress. So she's now using a technique of her own, which will bring something entirely different from assuming she had used color pencil. Yeah.
So I'm seeing her rubbing with a tissue. Is that necessary or important?
That is a technique. Maybe Mr. Njuguna can remind me the name of the technique, but it's a technique.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Njuguna, what does she do, or what is she doing?
So it is just a technique of shading.
Okay.
Yeah, because I will use the tissue to shade as well, and I'll as well control the pencil. on my sketches.
When talking about shading, what actually are you talking about?
So shading is just giving life to an illustration. In that you are trying to give it the texture that it requires. Talk of if I want a silky dinner dress, I will have to use some, if I was to shade, I'll just have to go soft on it. And that means giving color to the inner part of the silhouette. Because whatever I drew here is a silhouette. And so giving it color is now what we call shading. So it is basically giving it life. Because this is very plain. Na kila mtu anajua anaona hii ni mchoro, si ndio? But sasa nikipatia rangi, nikipaka rangi ndani yake, you will now see the reality of things. So that is when now if a client approaches me and tells me nataka nguo ya red, then I'll have to come and pick some red material and make sure I place it here. It is also called rendering. In artistic terms, it is called rendering. So rendering is giving color or rather texture to a silhouette.
How long will that take for you to come up with that kind of a sketch?
Rendering?
No,
just coming up with a whole sketch. It depends. Okay, if you are an amateur, it might take some time because you really have to consider what angle your model is posing. You have to consider probably the design of the cloth, and unaweza chora na itokee vile unataka. So kama wewe ni amateur, I would expect it will take a maximum of probably 40 minutes if you are really very bad at it. But kama wewe ni mtu unaelewa situation vile inaenda, it is very fast, probably 10 to 15 minutes and I'm done, including shading.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Anita, how many can you do? How many sketches can you do in a day, in a single day?
Well, I am not really into illustration and sketching, but assuming I was to really do nice sketches, nice presentable sketches, I'd say 5 or no, let me tone them down to 3 because I am not an artist. I do not have that talent in me. But with a little pushing and passion, I can be able to maybe draw 4.
Fair enough.
At most.
So we are waiting for Atiero to finish what she's
Okay,
doing.
I'm finished.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please tell us what you have done.
Okay, what I've sketched here, it's a dinner dress. You see? It's a dinner dress. And in this dinner dress, this person, for me, I will like a pearl blue color. And on this pearl blue, I will prefer it to be, considering fabric, I will prefer it to be a silk one. When I'm saying the silk one, you know the silk one, it will just
stretch.
It will stretch and it will just cover everything. You see, even if you are walking, you can't step on it. You see, and it is no silk represents luxury. Yeah.
So silk represents luxury. What can you talk about that sketch, Mr. Jigul?
So about this, she has used a technique and she has spread the shade. You'll want to see this middle part being darker, and as we go, the darkness inaenda ikispread and it becomes lighter. So her emphasis on this part, huku kwa mapaja, this is her emphasis on where the light is least focused on. So as you go up here, the light ni kama light ina focus sana kwake. So as you sketch and as you do the shading, what tuna consider some perspectives kama lighting. So kama tuna expect, kama ni red carpet, unaangalia light inatoka wapi, and then from that side ndio sasa una shade, and as you move away from the light, the place becomes darker, and as you move towards the light inakuwa brighter. So that is how literally it is usually tukifanya illustration. But sasa hiyo ni very fine, ile time yuko na all the time, like assume it's a weekend and I really have the whole day to myself. So that is when you start now being so creative.
Okay, fair enough. You said that you will also do a sketch for a man, and we will come back to you. Anita, before doing sewing or perhaps stitching, why do you consider these illustrations?
Well, we'll go back to the relevance of illustration.
Okay.
You consider sewing, number one, is because you will have the idea of what you're drawing. You will have the idea of what you're doing while you draw. When you sketch, you will have your materials, you will have your techniques in order. You can even have the methods of sewing. You can have areas of attachments, for example. You can label where you will put your zips. You can even label what kind of zip it's going to be. We have normal zips, we have hidden zips. So the illustrating and sketching before drawing is very important. It helps you to stick to your concept. It helps you to manipulate your concept. It helps you to basically just keep in check your design so that you do not stray from it.
Mr. Njuguna, there is a difference between fashion sketching and fashion illustration.
Yeah.
What is the difference?
So basically, fashion illustration really involves drawing the human figure, drawing the poses, and when you get to fashion sketching, you now start decorating the poses and the figures. So fashion sketching will involve you trying to give life to the figure, in that you are going to have it clothed. That is the very basic thing about fashion sketching, having your illustrations clothed. So after you have them clothed now, you are able now to tell this is going to have what, and this is going to go here, and this is going to go here, and this is going to go here. In that, you are going now to illustrate. You're going to now to give a slit and probably indicate a slit. You're going to indicate if this arm is going to be made of mesh. You're going to indicate made of mesh, and you're going to indicate the textures. Probably we want a coarse fabric, and you can also cut out the fabrics if you have them already with you. You can cut them out and paste them on the illustration to fit the design that you want to produce. Yeah.
Now, when it comes to fashion and designing, Anita, and sketching, does that job pays?
Well, as Njuguna has said, fashion illustration is quite a lucrative industry, especially for the high-end fashion houses.
Okay.
So one can really part with lots of money for a good sketch or for a good illustration, because especially if it's unique and it has paid attention to probably current affairs. Because as a designer, it's really important that you are attentive and you're keen on your surroundings, your environment, emerging issues. And people would really pay good money for an illustration that is focusing on the current trends, because it's all about trends in the fashion industry.
Okay. And Atieno, how are you prepared now to go to the market and do the illustrations things?
Okay. First, I have a sister who is doing fashion calls and has a brand. So firstly, the one who taught me these things, and for me, I'm prepared, but not that professionally.
not that professional.
Yeah,
I will ask Mr. Njuguna why Atieno is not professional.
It's when I'm starting, you know. Yeah, it's when I'm starting the course, not that professionally. So it's like when I develop that professionally, I think I'll want to explore.
Okay.
Yeah, my dream's just to explore. Yeah.
So to explore the fashion industry.
Yeah.
Mr. Njuguna, before I come back to Atieno, you are to illustrate, to do a sketch for a man.
A male figure.
Or a male figure. How do you start? Is that just as simple as doing the lady wear, or it is a little bit different?
It's with men, our silhouettes don't change. Like when I talk of silhouettes, is what really the outline ya mwanaume haichangingi sana, because kitambo the petite ladies were the thing, right? Am I wrong? I'm not wrong.
No, we will ask ladies. There are ladies in the house, and they will tell us what that is all about.
So with time, so much change, especially with the ladies. So some parts of the ladies started getting appreciated, and so they drastically changed. So it just changes. But with men, misuli ni ile. I mean, nothing changes. Hakuna siku utasema ati slim boys are preferred than, you know, muscular men ama the XL size. It is usually like a man is just a man. So silhouette yetu change. Inakuanga hivyo. The only thing that changes about illustrations za men probably is what is going on the street. So it narrows down to individual cultures. So utapata an illustrator in China, whatever they do and whatever they produce is not the same in America, because they have different cultures, even in the streets. Siku hizi si kuna hiyo for the streets and the streets. The streets have different cultures. So utapata in Chinese, probably silhouette ya man, it is very baggy and very boxy because they wear baggy stuff. And utaenda in America, where you find the silhouette is a little bit shaped kidogo, because a man in the US huko hivyo, they tend to wear slim trousers, their body fitting, vitu kama hizo, easy fitting garments. So utapata the silhouette ina change kidogo. So yeah, that is basically a man na lady. Lakini when it comes to illustration, it's easy.
So there is no difference.
Haina nguvu, haina technicality. Yeah, basically.
So you have mentioned something that there is in US and probably in Africa and other things. Talk about that. What makes that change when it comes to fashion illustration in China and in the US or in Africa?
So as Anita said, you have to be very cautious of what is around you, right? So you have to feel, you as a fashion designer, ni lazima usikize grao inasema nini. That is what they say on the huko hivi nje. You have to listen to what the people out here are wearing, and you have to see that, and you cannot ignore that. Hiyo ni kitu iko. As a designer, you cannot just say ati, oh, I'll go my own path and then people will. Because at the end of the day, it is the individual cultures that change the systems of how things are done. So utapata today we are wearing baggy trousers, and then kesho tunavaa bell bottoms. Hiyo siku ingine tunavaa very skinny trousers. The other day we are sagging. Hiyo siku ingine. So it just changes hivyo. So even in illustration, inaendanga ikichange kulingana na vile watu wako and how people appreciate fashion. Because American fashion, in China kuna kitu inaitwa Harajuku fashion. And Harajuku fashion is, they really go out. They are very wild with fashion. So even when illustrating, you want to illustrate the wildest of the creativity yenye iko huko. As in, like, definitely tu itakuwa governed na kenye inaendelea China. Ukienda US, they have a different taste when it comes to street fashion. And street fashion, by the end, ina changing so many things. It really changes the avenues of fashion at big time. So utapata in America, whatever they are doing, you have, as a fashion illustrator, and because illustration ndio basis ya fashion ya could develop designs. There's something called a design process in fashion. So illustration ndio the foundation of it. So utapata anytime you are doing illustrations, lazima ziandamane na Kenya streets zinataka. So yeah, so utapata hata Africa we have our own things, and you will find our illustrations having ladies with some long necks, very melanated skins kwa illustrations, very bold and chunky patterns kwa nguo zao hadi accessories. So yeah, that is it. Difference iko depending on cultures venye ziko spread across the world.
Fair enough. And the industry of fashion and designing is growing. Few years from now, what are you expecting, and what are we onto, and what are we going to make sure that we are ready for the change in the industry?
Well, we first look at how the industry has been behaving before, and we're really up to, with fashion trends, we've noticed that we always go back to where we were before, okay? Like the minis and the bell bottoms and all that, the baggy clothes that people wore in the 90s are coming back, okay? So Observing what has happened, I think it's almost safe to say that some trends are going to repeat themselves. And then, of course, with the coming of new things and the introduction of new concepts, or with the changing world, some concepts are going to be borrowed from the environment that we'll be living in at the time, all right? So at the moment, I cannot pinpoint specifically on a certain design and say it's going to change and look like this. But what I can tell you for sure is that we are going to always check the history of design and the various trends in design. And although it might not be exactly that, it's just going to be a little bit manipulated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Mr. Njuguna, the colors and the brushes here, what are they for?
So illustration basically ni kama art. It's like art. It's like doing any other art class. So colors, of course, they'll help you, render what you want and where you want it. So the reason as to why we have varieties of media to do our illustration is literally because you want your illustrations you want to explore. You want them to have different, textures. You want them to have different appearances to it. So utapata tunatumia brushes, kwingine we do the painting. Utapata kuna mali tunatumia hizi colored pencils. And you will find there are other avenues where people use wax crayons. And you will find people using fabric, literally pebbles, sticks, flowers. So much can be used to do your illustration. Bora if the whole meaning of the illustration remains constant. Yeah.
There is a difference. I see different type and sizes of those brushes. What is all that?
So
brush in brush too, you just take
brush see brush because brush ziko they are different and ndio maana zimekuwa indifferent. So hii sijui kama ni a 12 piece set yenye iko na 12 pieces of different brushes. So the ones with some pointed edge zinakuanga mostly za ku outline the edgy parts na place unaweka line, unaona, because ni pointed hivi so itakuwa very easy. Hata nikiweka line it will be very easy. Haya, so hiyo ni pointed. Then we have this, kuna moja inakaa cylindrical. The tips ni zinakaa almost cylindrical. So hizi cylindrical sisi tukisoma zilikuwa zinatumika kama unataka kuweka dots kama polka dots, unakuja tu na hiyo cylindrical na dip kwa paint, unaekelea hapo, una rinse brush yako and then you return it, because of course kuna care of equipment and tools, so lazima urudishe. Haya, kuna zingine zinakuanga na some edgy, zinakaa sharp hapa hivi mbele, I mean si pointed, zinakaa flat and then they are sharp. So hizo ndizo zinatumikanga ku spread paint across your illustration. So utatumia hizo spreading them out like this, so that they help you, like spread out the paint. Yeah.
I need to talk of the paints. Just paint. Unaenda kwa duka unanunua paint, unakuja unachanganya black, blue, red, and then you do your illustration. What other happens?
Well, we have acrylic paints, and then we have water paints. I don't know if there are other paints, but those are what we used most of the time. So with us here, we have acrylic paints, and they are already pastels. Some are pastels that have already been mixed for us, but usually utapata they are primary colors, which you mix them we mwenyewe. But right now we have the ones that have already been mixed, so we are just going to pick those particular paints and be able to use them to illustrate.
What is the difference between using the colors and using just black and white pencil drawing?
Unajua black and white, they are neutral colors. Picha black and white in real life haiku exciting kama picha colored. Ni kweli ama ni uongo? It is very true. But most of the times, like you wouldn't want to illustrate in black and white, simply because they are neutral colors. They don't really give the excitement you'll want them to give. And giving color and that is why God, I think God was very wise create color, is because color excites, it evokes different emotions, it really gives symbols. Kama sasa red, ukiona red imenini place yote, you want to think labda ni fire department, tunaelekea kwa fire engines. Ukiona kitu kama blue, you just feel some different type of peace. I don't know, hizi rangi zimekuwa zimekuwa in a way that they zina to harmonize, they harmonize our souls, they symbolize some things. So ndio maana huwezi tumia black and white, it will be very boring. So ukitumia color you get exciting things. So kama nimebeba portfolio art hapo hivi, and hiyo portfolio ingekuwa imejaa black and white, trust me, ungeenda page 3, haungefika hata page 3. But sasa because it has colors, different, like kona different colors, you'll ungeta hata kuona after this, oh what is next, nini hivyo, you see. Yeah, so that hiyo ndio inakuwa importance ya kuweka rangi rather than kuweka black and white. Yeah.
So ikiwa umeweka rangi, itapendeza aje, itakuwaje? As in sasa nimekuja ninataka color iwe ya red and then nipate kesho paint blue.
So one thing with color, kuna kitu inaitwa color coordination. Color coordination huwa tuna follow color wheel. So we have a color wheel. A color wheel has all the colors zenye, okay, all the basic colors. Kuna primary colors, secondary colors. So it has primarily kona hizo. And then it goes ahead to have blends of both of the colors. So unapata it is, color wheel ilikuwa mrembo by the way. It is one colorful thing ukiangalia. So while doing that you do color coordination. So unaweza amua I want to do analogous colors on my paints. So ukichukua analogous colors utachukua zenye probably vile zimejipanga kwa color wheel, you will see what the difference. And then unaweza amua unataka kutumia primary colors. They're usually not that interesting. So kuna kitu hiyo color coordination hiyo. So you have to color coordinate ndio uone the beauty of it. Otherwise tungekuwa tunaweka blue na pink hivyo, I mean azingekaanga vizuri ama kumix tu rangi hivyo, it is not usually as beautiful rather than kuwa na mpangilio wa kupaka rangi. Ndio ujue color fulani inapakwa hapa, and unajua gold inaenda na black, and then inaweza kuwa supplemented na white, unaona. So you have that color coordination, and then bila zitakuwa spread sasa ndio ita make the whole difference. Yeah.
And it as we wind up, is it necessary to be a professional illustrator?
Well, with the direction we are headed at the moment, I believe it is necessary to be an illustrator. It's going to give you the opportunity to sketch or illustrate your trending ideas. It will help you to be able to, you know, one thing I tend to think is that illustration basically takes your fashion house a notch higher. Okay. Having something to be able to show to a client that ndio hii. So going forward, I believe people should learn the art of illustrating, because how you begin by planning and putting down on paper is how it's going to determine the success of your overall house.
Mr. Njuguna, breakers, give us the summary of this. It all starts to the idea, illustration, then you continue to the final product.
So basically, sijui nitumie portfolio, ikona some, just like a tiny bit of it. So kwa portfolio, you have the basic, you start with the basic sketching, which is this, inaitwanga ideation. So ideation phase is where you put your ideas, the rough ideas of what you want, and then zinaishia hapo. So after you ideate, you now come to the sketches. You do them in full scale and well colored. So naona ziko na rangi, and then nilitumia cream in my case, so haikushika vizuri, but you have to paint them so that at least end user aone exactly what they expect. So kama hii sasa, it is nilitumia satin and then I used lace. So lace imeillustratiwa na some meshi, unaona tu dot na tumaua. So that is the nature of lace. Mtu hata bila kuambiwa anajua ni lace. So from there kunafaa kuwa na the overall picture. Kunafaa kuwa na end product. So usually sijas include kwa hii portfolio. But ukishamaliza kufanya sketching yako, there are things called flat patterns. So flat patterns ni vile shati inakaa, like ikiwa imelalishwa kwa meza. So you will draw it sasa bila form. Unaona vile iko flat hivyo, utachora sasa hivyo, uchore all the details zenye zinahitajika. So kama ni mfuko, unakachora tu vile kanakuwa ka square, shati vile inakuanga hivyo. So after doing your flat patterns now, is now then that you do the thing called pattern drafting. So kishafanya pattern drafting is now when you come up with a pattern for the shirt and then you manipulate it to fit the design that you want. So ukishamaliza kufanya pattern drafting is now when you lay the fabric on the drafts ama you lay the fabric and then unaekelea drafts zako juu ya fabric. So zitakuguide ukikata. So ukishamaliza kukata sasa si tunaingia nyuma ya mashini and now you run your stitches in the most perfect way possible. So from there you do the fittings. You do the ironing and then now you do the fittings. So of course before fanya ironing kuna finishings, cutting threads, making sure the buttons ziko intact, fixing the zips and all that. And then now after that now una press haraka ama you press kwa utaratibu though. Ukishamaliza kupress, it's now then that you do the fittings. So tunaangalia ni wapi na kufinya kama iko sawa. And then now from there you can commission it to the end user. Yeah.
Well done, well said, Mr. Njuguna. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for giving us all those information. Actually, it is necessary. I hope our viewers have gotten one or two things concerning that. Thank you so much, viewer, for being with us since we started. Remember, this is DGTV, and as always, this is Saturday, and Saturday is all about lifestyle. And we have been talking about fashion design and sketching. You see, it is not only unachukua hiyo nguo unavaa and you go. You have to know these things, of course. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Joseph Okiyo, and remember, this program always has been sponsored by Uzuri Institute. Thank you so much again. As I said, thank you asanteni sana for sharing the information to us. I wish you all the best, especially to our student at for sharing with us all those kind of things. Remember to keep this conversation on our social media platform, DGTV, of course, YouTube, Facebook, and all our social media. My name is Joseph Okiyo. That is the sweet name that I got. See you next Saturday. God bless you, of course.